Hi there. I thought today I'd go a little off-piste and talk about something that combines a betting accumulator and trading. Now, this technique allows you to set up an accumulator that applies throughout a knockout tournament. Now, although I'll primarily be talking about the idea of doing this in tennis, you can do it on any competition and any sport that has a knockout element to the tournament. So, for example, the last 16 of the Football World Cup. But we'll concentrate on tennis. So although in my spreadsheet here I've started off from the last 16, clearly in tennis it could be the last 32 or even the bigger tournaments, last 64. But we'll just concentrate on the tail end of the tournament as it was. The idea is that before you start off, you decide how much money you wish to stake throughout the tournament, or perhaps I should put that a different way, how much money you are prepared to lose, assuming everything goes extremely badly. But it's not going to do that, as I'll demonstrate hopefully shortly. You then take that money and you split it into even parts, and you then use those as your liability, whether you're backing to lay or laying to back. And the idea is that you trade that particular match for a certain target percentage profit. And then that successful trade is carried over into the next round. Hopefully you do another successful trade and that gets carried over into the semi-finals and so on. And you do that for every match at that particular point in the tournament. So by way of example, let's just imagine we had £500 to burn. Now, you're not going to lose £500, as I'm sure you can imagine as I describe what's happening here. So £500, and we end up with £62.50 being our liability, our investment in each of those particular matches at the last 16 stage of the tournament. Now, what you need to decide is, what level of profit do you think you can make in each of those matches? Keeping in mind for a £62.50 investment, the smaller the percentage, the smaller the profit's going to be to carry over to the next round. However, the more likely it is that you'll make that. For example, a 2% profit in a tennis match, you're only looking at a very small number of ticks movement, depending on the odds, of course. So we'll start off with a 2% target profit. And you'll see here, if we have ones all the way down these win columns, this indicates a successful trade for each individual match. And so you'll see there, if you win all the way through, starting off with a £62.50 investment in each match, and each trade is successful to a 2% profit target, you'll end up with a £30.60 profit for the whole tournament. You may find, however, that 2% is easily obtained, and you may want to think about increasing that target profit. So let's go up to 5%. And you'll see there you start to make a profit of 78.81, which is a nice return on investment of your original 500. Keeping in mind that I'm only doing from the last 16. For a tennis match, particularly the big tournaments, as I say at Wimbledon, you'll be looking at the last 32. So you can repurpose that money more often. And keeping in mind, you can also do this on each segment of the tournament. So you've got your men's tournament and your women's tournament. And you could also, if you so desire, go into the various double tournaments as well. But essentially you get the gist. So for example, in this little grid on the spreadsheet here, I've assumed each one of those markets each one of those games has hit the 5% target profit. But if one of them fails, so we just set that to 0, you'll see that the money carried forward through to the quarterfinals from this pairing is only this money here. And you'll see your profit drastically drops. And that's fairly typical for a betting accumulator, as you can well imagine. However, this is a very simple grid. All I'm doing here is that you're either losing or you're winning your profit. Yeah, you're getting a profitable trade. There's nothing to stop you at any point, of course, in any individual match to apply a stop loss. And so, although you wouldn't necessarily have the £62 going through, you may do a 50% stop loss and take the £30, £31 through. So that's the general gist of things. If you're happy with a higher target profit, of course, your overall profit for the tournament will be that much greater. So again, if we change that to 10, you'll see we get an £82 profit, even though we've had a failure here. If we had a successful trade all the way through the tournament, you'll see you get 165. I don't think 10% is an unrealistic profit target per match, to be perfectly honest. Now, in addition to that, of course, at any time, you can decide not to carry on to the next round. Or, for example, imagine the two players in this semi-final were so close you couldn't call it one way or the other. What you could do is, rather than try to make a 10% profit in this case on that match, you could bypass that match altogether and take this money from these two games and stick it on the final, combined with the money that's earned from this semi-final, for example. So you have complete flexibility of how you go about this. The only perhaps potential downside is you really need to keep track of all the matches and what's happening and make sure you invest in the right ones and so on and so forth. So you need a bit of paperwork, you need a bit of admin to follow the numbers all the way through to the final. And of course, once you get to this stage, you might decide, well, I won't bother in getting involved in the final and trying to get 10%. Or you could perhaps take out all your initial stake and just play with whatever winnings you've got. There's a number of ways that you can play with it, but that's an idea that you might want to mull over, and I'll leave it there. Thank you.